What's going on, beautiful people? It is I, your flying locomotive, and faster than a speeding bullet SuperCliff, coming at you live with a brand new video. So for today's video, I want to talk about BrieLarson as Captain Marvel, specifically the reasons why BrieLarson as the character is viewed with such a controversial lens. And no, this is not going to be a hate fest video where I gang up on BrieLarson and shout to the heavens that women suck. Nor is this going to be a video about how the MCU is perfect and if you don't like Captain Marvel, then you clearly hate women. In this video, I'm going to be objective as possible. Because honestly, I think when it comes to BrieLarson as Captain Marvel, there's an argument to be made for both sides. I believe a lot of the hate she gets is extremely unfair, but within that pile of dinosaur poo, there is some legitimate criticism to be had. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the reason why the people love the MCU isn't because of their CGI fight scenes or the end credit teases. Though their overall story was to have all roads lead to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, Marvel still managed to tell great personal stories for the respective heroes and teams. There was never an MCU film that depicted our heroes as perfect people with zero flaws. That's not why we love Tony Stark. We love Tony because yes, he's a genius, but there's something flawed and human about him that makes us feel connected. Spider-Man. He's a high school student who's wanting to find his place within this larger-than-life superhero world. The Guardians of the Galaxy. They're losers, folks who have lost stuff. But by finding one another, they've come to form this family. Whether it's Captain America, Vision, or Scarlet Witch, there's something familiar and relatable that audiences have with these characters. Therefore, I believe it's safe to say that one of the reasons why folks don't care about Captain Marvel is that of her character. For starters, let's take a look at the power scale. Hulk, Thor, and Scarlet Witch are the MCU's most powerful heroes. However, if they didn't have substance within their character, I bet you no one would give a shit. Wanda deals with loss, Bruce fears the Hulk's power, and Thor, though super powerful, struggles with a lot of things like family, loss, and failure. It's all there. So when KevinFeige announced before Captain Marvel made a single appearance that she would be the MCU's most powerful superhero, well, obviously folks who are toxic took that as ammo in order to shit on BrieLarson. But for those who heard that, me included, were like, okay, but just because someone is powerful doesn't mean we thereby give a shit. At the time, it felt as if Marvel was trying to sell us on this character, and her being already super powerful, it didn't feel earned. Not saying I or people were against Captain Marvel becoming super powerful, but if she earned that right following her movie and through her story, then yeah, that would have worked. It's the same issue I have with the Man of Steel. General audiences didn't care for this interpretation of Superman, and that was because nothing was there for the viewers to latch onto, character-wise. There was no personality, no character arc, simply bland stuff. And unfortunately, it's the same in regards to Captain Marvel's movie. Throughout her entire film, her performance is wooden. There's nothing to latch onto. Sure, there are glimmers where you're like, yeah, I like that, but never do those small moments outweigh the rest of the film. And unlike, let's say, Captain America, the first Avenger, or when Tony is trying to figure out how the Iron Man suit works, in Captain Marvel, we don't get anything that makes her vulnerable. And at times, it feels as if the movie is afraid to do so. Truthfully, there's times when watching the movie, you can't help but not feel as if the movie has an agenda. And Marvel movies prior to that, even movies like Black Panther, which I think is a top 5 MCU movie, they never felt that way. They never felt forced. But because this is the first Marvel female superhero-led movie, I don't know, it just felt like the movie was trying so hard to prop Captain Marvel as this unstoppable force. And it didn't have to. All it needed was a genuine story. Now, from someone who has seen BrieLarson in multiple movies prior to Captain Marvel, I was honestly shocked because her performance just wasn't good. It felt forced at times, as if the movie was trying to nudge you into saying, yeah, Captain Marvel's great. She's dope. I mean, she's awesome. She's the best. Now, here's where I defend BrieLarson. All that stuff you can blame in the writing and in the directors. Looking at the movie objectively, it seems that the people who worked on Captain Marvel didn't have a clear vision of what they wanted this movie to say or do, nor do they seem to have any idea on who the character of Carol Danvers was. It's very similar to Rey from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Now, this is where stuff gets really muddied, and that is BrieLarson's public image. Prior to the release of Captain Marvel, she said some things she probably would like to take back. The prime example I'm talking about is when she was on stage saying, quote, I do not need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work for him about A Wrinkle in Time. It wasn't made for him. Now, having read and watched the video multiple times, I get where BrieLarson was coming from. I get it, and she's not wrong. However, I think her delivery, the way it was executed, was a mistake. Not that she shouldn't have said it or acknowledged it, but when you're under the spotlight like that, there's definitely a better way to go about it. and you have to be a bit more aware of your surroundings. Therefore, I will defend Brie Larson on what she meant, but if I were her PR person, I'd probably suggest she phrase it differently. Now, here's where things get really weird, because ever since that moment, Brie Larson and a lot of her interviews always came off as if she was on defense. And not only that, but the way she acted towards fellow Avenger castmates, it didn't seem genuine. It felt very off, and she came off very smug. Overall, it was just really weird. None of it seemed authentic. Maybe she thought being a Marvel superhero would be fantastic for a platform, and the message she would represent to young girls would be inspirational. And I like that. And I'm sure she went into it with, good intentions. She definitely gave an effort. I mean, Christ on the bike, she worked out a ton for the role. So you gotta give her props for that. But outside the role, the way she comes off in interviews, very defensive. I mean, I have no doubt she was probably unhappy with the amount of hate and complaints she got for playing Captain Marvel. I'm sure that must have sucked, but sadly, that is one of the cons of being a highly prolific actress. Plus, you are fairly compensated. So there's that. Overall, I think it's one of those situations where, for example, a football team gets an all-pro quarterback. However, the player and the team just don't mesh together well. On paper, it looks fantastic, but outside of it, it's pretty rough. Hopefully, moving forward, Marvel has a polite exit for her, because I think it's fairly obvious that Brie Larson is so done with the role of Captain Marvel. Sure, some of it isn't her fault, but perhaps some of it was, of her doing. All we can do now as fans is hope that both Marvel and Brie Larson come to terms with something. And heck, who knows? Maybe the Marvels will be great. Maybe that movie will revitalize Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. To be honest, that's not likely to be the case, but hey, you never know. So yeah, as always, I'm your majestic sayer of words, SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and so that you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions? Do you guys like Brie Larson as Captain Marvel? Do you think the criticism surrounding her is fair or not? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace. Giggity goo.